Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. My name is Rowan, and if you told me a year ago that one text from my wife would flip my entire understanding of trust, I would have laughed it off. Lila wasn't perfect, but she was predictable. Soft-spoken, thoughtful, the kind of woman who apologized if she bumped into furniture. We had been married 7 years, long enough to settle into our own rhythms, but not long enough for either of us to expect the other to drift. At least, that's what I believed. The whole thing started on a quiet Saturday afternoon, the kind where the world feels paused. Sunlight through half-closed blinds, kettle cooling on the counter, me sorting bills I'd been avoiding all week. Lila walked into the living room holding her phone like it was something fragile. She wasn't nervous, just unusually measured. "Hey," she said softly, standing in the doorway. "I need to talk to Aiden privately for a bit." "Don't worry." Aiden, her ex-boyfriend from years before we met. A name I hadn't heard in ages. If she had asked, "Is that okay?" I might have questioned it. But, "Don't worry," sounded rehearsed, like someone skipping over the part where concern might naturally exist. I looked up at her, trying to read her expression. Nothing guilty, nothing defensive, just controlled. "Okay," I said simply. She seemed surprised I didn't argue. Then she slipped upstairs with her phone, and the house went unusually still. But the mind isn't still. It whispers. It nudges. Pokes holes in quiet. Why now? Why him? Why privately? Lila had never been secretive. If anything, she overshared even tiny details I didn't need to know. So her sudden need for privacy with a man she once loved didn't fit the woman I knew. I didn't snoop. I didn't follow her. I simply sat there and let the silence sit with me, something heavy enough to bend the air. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. An hour. Not once did she come down. Not once did she check in. It was the privately that stuck with me, how she emphasized it like she was pre-defending something she hadn't done yet. So I made a choice. Not out of anger. Not out of insecurity. Out of fairness. If she could speak with someone privately, then so could I. I grabbed my keys and drove without thinking too much about the destination. I knew where Aiden lived. Lila had once pointed out the neighborhood when we were driving. She'd laughed, saying it felt like another lifetime. His house wasn't far. Suburban, quiet, a blue door with a wreath that didn't match the season. I didn't look for him. I looked for her, his wife, Harper. She answered after the second knock. Pretty in a soft, understated way. She looked tired, but not in a defeated sense. More like someone used to carrying more emotional weight than she ever asked for. "Hi," I said gently. "I'm Rowan, Lila's husband." Her face changed, not in shock, in recognition. "Oh," she breathed out. "Come in." That was all I needed to know. Whatever Lila was discussing privately, Harper already knew enough to brace for my arrival. We talked, calmly, honestly, not about revenge, not about confrontation, just truth. She told me things in a careful voice, like she didn't want to hurt me but couldn't lie either. I told her what Lila had told me, "Don't worry," and Harper let out a quiet, humorless laugh, the kind that holds more exhaustion than amusement. Nothing dramatic happened. No yelling, no accusations. Just two spouses comparing puzzle pieces we didn't realize were from the same broken box. When I finally left, Harper thanked me, and I believed her. I drove home with my windows down, letting the cold air keep me steady. I wasn't angry, just aware, the kind of awareness that changes the temperature of your chest. When I walked through the door, my phone buzzed. Lila calling. I didn't answer. She called again, and again, then again. Finally, when her fourth call lit up my screen, I picked up. The rage in her voice nearly crackled through the speaker. "What did you do?" she screamed. "Rowan, what did you do?" I stayed silent for a moment, just long enough to let the noise settle into meaning. Then I answered with the same calm she had used earlier, the same reassuring softness she disguised her intentions with. "I just spoke with his wife privately," I said. "Don't worry." The silence that followed my words wasn't quiet. It was loud in a way that only guilt can be, sharp, vibrating, almost metallic. Lila didn't speak for several seconds. Not because she didn't understand what I meant, but because she did. When she finally breathed, it sounded shaky, thinner than her usual confident tone. Why would you do that, Rowan?" she whispered, anger melting into something closer to panic. "Why would you involve her?" I leaned back against the counter, staring at the muted glow of the kitchen lights. "Why did you involve him?" I asked softly, privately. "That's not the same," she snapped. "It is," I replied. "Exactly the same." She exhaled sharply, like she was trying to burn through her own frustration. "It was just a conversation. Aiden and I were talking about old stuff, about closure. Nothing happened." I didn't interrupt her. I wanted her to speak. People reveal themselves when they start justifying instead of explaining. "You blindsided me," she added. "Going to his wife? Talking to her? Do you know what you've just started?" "No," I said calmly. "But you seem to." The line went quiet again. This time, the quiet felt strategic, like she was scrambling to rebuild a narrative that suddenly had holes she couldn't patch. "Can you come home?" she finally said. Not asked, said. "We need to talk." "I'm already home." There was a pause. "Oh," she hung up a second later. Not angrily, just abruptly, the way someone does when they need a moment to collect the pieces of a plan that didn't go the way they rehearsed. A minute passed, then two. Then she walked through the front door, moving with a pace that wasn't quite a run but wasn't casual either. Her hair was slightly messy, like she'd raked her fingers through it too many times on the drive back. "Rowan," she said as she entered the kitchen, voice tight. "We need to clear this up." I nodded, giving her the space to speak first. She folded her arms, then unfolded them, then shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "Aiden reached out last week," she began. "He said he was going through some things. I didn't think it was a big deal." "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "Because I knew how it would look." "And you thought talking privately would make it look better?" Her lips pressed together. For the first time, I could see something vulnerable behind the frustration. Fear, maybe, or shame. "He was apologizing," she said quietly, "for the way he treated me years ago, and it stirred up memories. I wasn't looking for anything. I just needed to close that chapter. I swear." "Then why privately?" I asked again, slower this time. She swallowed hard. "Because I didn't want to hurt you, Lila," I said gently. "You hurt me the moment you chose secrecy over honesty." Her eyes flickered with something like realization. Maybe she expected shouting or accusations or demands. But calm truth can be more disarming than anger. She stepped closer, voice trembling. "What did Harper tell you?" "Enough," I said simply. "Enough to understand the conversation wasn't as harmless as you made it sound. Enough to know she wasn't surprised when I showed up. Enough to know this wasn't just one call." Lila's shoulders slumped as if someone had released the strings holding her upright. "I messed up," she whispered. "I know I did. But nothing happened, Rowan. I never crossed that line." "You crossed a different one," I said. "The kind where trust erodes quietly before anything physical ever does." A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it quickly, like she didn't want the moment to soften me. "I don't want to lose you," she said. "Tell me what to do. I'll do anything." For a second, I almost believed she meant it. But then I remembered Harper. Tired eyes, quiet confession, the weight she carried. This wasn't a moment that came out of nowhere. It had roots. "I don't want promises you're making in panic," I said. "I want honesty. Real honesty. What were you looking for from him?" She stared at the tile floor as though the answer might be written on it. "I don't know," she murmured. "Validation, maybe. Curiosity. Closure. Something I didn't want to admit even to myself." "That," I replied gently, "is the honesty I needed a week ago." Lila sank into a chair, defeated in a way I had never seen before. "Can we fix this?" she asked, voice cracking. I took a long breath. "Not dramatic, just steady." "That depends," I said. Not on what you say now, but on what you choose tomorrow. And the day after that. And the week after that. She nodded slowly, the weight of those words settling around her like a cold wind. I wasn't ending the marriage. But I wasn't pretending nothing happened either. Sometimes trust doesn't break with a scream. Sometimes it cracks with a single word. Privately. And sometimes the calmest sentence in the world becomes the loudest truth you can speak. Don't worry.